There's a TTRPG that I find to be the best TTRPG by far. It's not D&D. We all know it's not D&D. For my D&D fans, we all know it's not D&D. Not just because of the company, but because the mechanics of D&D are not fully perfect. And we all know that they're not fully perfect. No game is truly perfect. But the TTRPG that I think reaches their closest is a little early access indie game that has a working title, and I'm not sharing the title because it really doesn't have a title. But it's in development. It's very close to being done. You can play it. Well, I've played it. I don't know where you're gonna find it. Maybe I'll try and find like a copy of it and put it online or something. Anyway, it's completely free, so that's good. It's all online though, which kind of sucks. Very early in development. But what's there and what's playable is incredible. To start off with, the setting. Let's start off with the setting for it, shall we? It takes place in a sci-fi world, but not any normal average sci-fi, Star Wars, Titanfall world. No. This sci-fi setting has magic, and lots of it at that. You see, it's got all the sci-fi things that you could possibly want, and all the fantasy stuff that you could possibly want. Now, we call that urban fantasy for how the majority of the game is, which is pretty cool. Urban fantasy. Tons of magic, dragons, but it's all intergalactic space travel, space stuff. And it's all in one world. And it's all particularly cohesive. It's good. You see, it throws in all those fantasy stuff. It throws in all the sci-fi stuff. Also throws in some Call of Cthulhu. It throws in some of that. You see, how the god system in the game is interesting. As all the gods, they're really mortal. Quite mortal indeed. They just made the planets, and then a war or something, not particularly clear broke out. And the gods ended up asleep on the planets, inside the planets that they created. And then the humans and the intelligent life came to be and modified the planets, well, the vast majority of them. The idea currently is, in the universe, that if any of the gods were to wake up, they'd kill every last intelligent life on the planet for modifying its creation, for modifying that god's creation. So, people live in fear of the gods. They live in fear of their creators. But there are few that choose to worship them, choose to gain power from them. Now, these are the warlocks. Very illegal, but the power they receive from the dubious deals and worshipings that they do, it's worth it, and it's strong, and it's out there, and it's feared greatly. Now, if that's not interesting enough for you, magic galore, heck, tons of cities, tons of planets to explore. The ones that are already made and are out and about, officially created, absolutely incredible. The main planet being, I forgot its name, but let me just describe the planet for you. You see, it's an ocean planet, fully covered in ocean, but on that ocean floats a giant city that stretches across the ocean, all white and pristine. The thing is, the planet also has a weird thing about it. For the past 13 years, it has had a giant ray shield around the entire planet, making it so no one gets in or out. Everything just sucks. Families separated. So it causes plenty of rebellions and alliances and mafias to sprout out. With the support of the people, because their goal, as they say, is to release the shield and get people, to see their families again. They can't even contact them. Contact has been cut off. So people are scared. This government isn't exactly particularly nice to them. People live in fear and anguish. And the loss of their family members haunts them day by day. And the people that they're friends with and know, and their family members that are far off and they can't contact with, they don't know how they're doing. They don't know if they're still alive or not. Causes people to do some pretty crazy things. There are plenty of planets. Plenty of interesting planets. It's good. It's really good. Now, let's jump into the mechanics of the game. You see, this game, it feels very streamlined. Very like instantly you just know what's going on there. You understand. But the more you dig into it, the more complicated you find it to be. The more strategy is required. So it's easy to jump in, but it's also particularly complicated for people who really know what they're doing. The game works on action points. You have 21 or so action points on your turn. And a single action is 18 action points. Forgive me. You can gain more action points though. Each action point can be used to move to move your character on a square. So it's just like D&D where it's like 5 feet for a square. I think it's a meter in this game. That's good. So you can move a square with each one of these action points, but you also have to use these action points to hide, to duck. You have to use them to move, to swing your sword and use your attacks and cast magic. So you're trying to make the most out of your turn and like calculate specifically your action points. Sure, you can just stand there in front of the enemy and just flail all your action points at them, just blah 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 blah. Pull your gun at their head and just keep on firing over and over and over again. This is disadvantaged. Though. It's not the game benefits more strategic gameplay, especially the creative uses of magic. We gotta get into the magic system now. The magic system is incredible in this game. I love it dearly. You can do anything you want in the magic system. Say you wanna rise a massive castle from the ground. Just make it appear. Fully solid, no weird illusions or nothing like that. You tell the DM, or GM in this case, Game Master, that you want to do this. He then gives you a mana cost. You see, this game runs on mana points. It's all points in this game. Points. The creator really likes the word points, I guess. I don't know. He's a weirdo. I think he's a guy. He is, don't worry. So he gives you the mana cost. And then if you can meet that mana cost, like you spend the mana and you do it. He also gives you an action point cost, or how long it's going to take. So you can do whatever you want, but you have to be able to meet those costs. Say he gives you the mana cost of 180 mana points to build this castle. You're not the highest leveled thing in the world, so you only have like 18 mana points. He says, okay, well, you cast your spell, but instead of a massive sprawling castle popping out of the ground, only a small dirt hut. Or a stone hut. Depends on the GM. It's up to the GM as well, This does the same thing with damage attacks, but it is specifically designed so that spellcasting does less damage overall than melees and like the melee martial classes. As the game puts it, CPU, GPU. The martial classes are meant to be the CPUs, and the magic classes are meant to be the GPUs. This metaphor meaning the GPUs can do plenty and plenty of things, and they're pretty good at them. But the CPUs can do a specific amount of things, just specific things on a line. But they are very, very good at those things. That being combat. But, you know, that's cool. They're good at those things. That is what they're good at. And they're really good at it. And now we move into the skill tree. This game doesn't work on levels. I mean, kind of technically. But, yeah, it doesn't work on levels. It has a skill tree. Now, this is not the skill tree of the game behind me. That, I guarantee that's not it. Unless there's some editor note saying that it's like up here or something. But I don't think there is. Yeah. So, it works on a skill tree. So you know what a skill tree is. You've played a video game. You know what. You've played video games. You know what skill trees are. It is kind of bare bones right now. I will admit that. This game is very early access. It only goes to about the equivalent of level 6 in D&D equivalents. But what's there is pretty interesting. They got some interesting stuff for each thing. Martials being not pretty bare bones right now, but it does have like rage and stun and strike, you know. But stunning strike is more interesting, as it it stops the opponent from moving and stuff, and stops all that. But against magic users, it stops their magic for even longer than the stun lasts. With that being like a turn or something. Rage is interesting. You can pretty much do anything. You're kind of the strongest thing alive for a little while there. Busting through walls, turning yourself into a jet engine. Crazy, crazy stuff, because it wants the strong boy to feel strong, real bulky. That was weird. And then there's the magic system. And the magic system, there's 3 types of magics. There's wizards. That's where you're born with your magic. It's kind of like Harry Potter, where like you're born with your magic and you learn how to use it and all that good stuff. There's the second kind. I don't remember what the second kind is. Maybe I'll have the editors note, or it'll be right behind me. I don't know. Green screens are weird, and I'm not good at editing. So, but the third kind. Oh wait, I remember what the second kind is. It's the psychic. You went through massive amounts of torture and toning your brain to be able to cast magic with just your brain alone, with your big juicy brain wrinkles and veins. It comes right from your brain. Pretty interesting. But while being a psychic is not illegal, the practices in which to become a psychic are illegal because it's torture. Wizarding's not illegal. But as I've mentioned the third type before, the warlocks, the ones choosing to worship the gods, and they're nearly all tasked with bringing them back, with raising them, which would kill everybody on the planet. Maybe even more, maybe even more people. But still, they're very illegal. But that is the easiest way to become a magic user, especially if you weren't born with it. Each one has some different ability options available to them each one of them has different abilities available to them on the skill tree. So, they've all got different stuff. But then we get into the third part of the skill tree, third path on the skill tree, the mechanic. Now, the mechanic path is more meant to be a supplement to another path and work with other paths as well. Like, if you go mechanic martial, you can build massive swords and stuff to really help that martial. If you go mechanic magician, or mage as it's called, you can make massive potions and things to help your magic. If you go by and but the mechanic is mostly meant to build like a suit of armor for themselves, especially if you're going on the path alone. Just that. You're mostly going to be building a magical, technological suit of armor for yourself with your own custom weapon. You're making your own weapons here and stuff. And potions to a lesser degree. If you have magic, the potions get upgraded. I didn't make the rules. Okay, so you make all that. You get all those things. And each class is very different and unique. Class, I mean path. I've played too much D&D. I need to play more of this TTRPG. Because it's much better. You can learn spells. And learning them will give you... Like, you make a spell and you can say to learn it. Like, the wizard gets... Wizard, I think it's really just called mage in this game. You get bonuses to that. Like, bonuses to damage. Less action point cost. Less mana cost. Bonuses to the attack roll. Bonuses to the damage roll. All great stuff. There are cantrips in the game. There's a cantrip mechanic. Yeah. So, the mages can kind of spend all their mana points at once, do a big thing of magic and devastation. But they're supposed to, like, spread it out so they have, like, little bursts of strong magic. And not just hurling a fireball of 100 mana points. I mean, that's part of the rules, you can do that, but is it worth it? Unless you know that's, like, your last combat for the day. But, and finally, there's perks. There are little abilities that you can choose at certain points in the game. Some that give you, but they all give a buff and a debuff, so they're completely optional. But the coolest part of this game, I've yet to get to this. The coolest part of this game is the fact you can add infinite stuff to it. It has so many rules and so many things to teach you how to add stuff to it. Like, you're supposed to make your own spells. You can add your own abilities on the skill tree. So many amazing stuff. You're supposed to add stuff and be creative. And that's what I love about it most. Because I'm not just selecting a class and then selecting pre-baked spells. That's why I love multi-classing so much in D&D. Because it feels like I'm more making something. I'm just choosing different options, though. But with this one, I'm making the options. It's fun. It's really, really fun. It's a great time. And then we get into the nitty-gritty stuff like AC, HP, your stats. All your stats, you get stat score improvements in the skill tree. You get a lot in the beginning, and then it like lessens out over time. Stats are meant to be higher overall than D&D because the stat system is different, and it doesn't work on the game isn't based on a D20. It's based on a D12. There used to, and something interesting is there used to be there's a crit system, and it's interesting. There's tons and tons of really cool stuff in there. But if you roll 3 crits in a row, like if you roll 12, you can then roll another 12, and if that's a 12, you get to roll one last 12. You get to roll one last D12. If they're all 12s, you just instantly kill the thing. No questions asked, it's just gone. But it also works in reverse. If you roll 3 1s in a row, you just die. You're gone. Just right there. No questions asked. This was removed. Those rules with like the 3 dice in a row, that was removed. Because on a session 1, like, I was playing it. I was playing the game. on session 1, a player rolled 3 ones in a row. So I just had to remove that ability. Just remove that rule because, I wasn't just going to kill him at session 1. That's so lame. You shouldn't do that. Unless it's like a one-shot and like it ends with them dying. I'm not getting into that. And the death rules are very interesting. As when you get knocked out, you get 3 action points per turn. And 3 action points is enough to make like a punch. A basic attack. You can also use those action points to use magic or move. So knocked out characters, they still have some options of what to do. Like, do they want to like spend all their action points to throw a punch? Do they want to move away? Do they want to try and do some magic to try and save themselves? There's so much they can do with that magic system. With that knockdown system. Trying to remember all the rules at once for something is very annoying. So, that's the TTRPG. What do you think of it? Give me your thoughts. Because I do want feedback. And the reason I say it's the best TTRPG is because I made it. And because I made it, it's the best automatically. I'm great. I'm amazing. Definitely.